aka flowers. So there are two different ways of making your flowers, and again I'm just going to show you using this paper, but your paper is going to be the ones that you've prepped with your acrylic pulls in all your beautiful kind of pinks, reds, whatever colour you wanted to use to make your flowers. So all you need for these are your templates, you need some glue, you need a pencil, and you need some scissors. And all we're going to do is basically, the first thing is kind of over to you. What size flower do you want to make? So what I'm going to do first is just point out that these are all in different bags. So this one here says flower centres. So that's going to be the circle that holds all the petals together. Then you've got flowers and leaves in this bag, which are, they're still big, but not as big as large flowers and leaves. So depending on the size you want to make, you just need to make that decision first. I'm going to go big. Why not? Go big or go home. So I'm going to put aside just the one that says flowers and leaves for now. And I'm going to go with large flowers and leaves and see in this bag what I want to work with. So you can see straight away, I've tried to label everything up so it's quite easy. So I've got leaf, 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 all different shapes and sizes there. And then at the bottom here, I've got these two different ones. Now this one says large petal and it says number 4 on it. So I know if it says number 4, they'll all work with the same flower. With these, in a similar way, some say petal 1. And you know that if it says that, you can use any of the ones that say petal 1 to make one size flower. If it says petal 2, any of the ones with the 2 on, you can use, and they'll all make a similar size flower. So stick to the same number and you're absolutely fine. Don't try and mix the numbers up. So I'm going to go, I think, maybe with this one, which says large whole flower. Now it says part 1 and part 2, just to remind you that there's 2 parts to it. So again, what I'm going to do is run through how to make it. What I might do is make both, you know, just for fun. But I'm going to start with this one. So all you need to do is select what you're going to use. Put everything else away so we don't lose it. I'm going to put them back in the bag. Put them over there. So now I know that I've got these 2 templates that I want to draw around to get the shape of the flower that I want to make into a kind of little 3D sculpture. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the biggest one and just check it fits my page. So this one will always fit on an A4. What I'll say is about the sizing of things, never really try and put your template that you want to use in the middle of your page, because then it means the bits at the top and the bottom are just going to go to waste. If I push that up as far as I can, then it might be that I can fit different petals from another bag on this bottom section, so I don't waste any paper. So I'm always going to try and put my template somewhere near the edge to see can I use the rest of that paper at any other time. So this is the first thing I'm going to do. Put it in a good spot before I do anything else. Now all I've got to do from here is, with my pencil, I'm going to draw around the outside of this shape, which I love doing, especially with this one because it feels a bit like a roller coaster, because I'm going up and down and up and down and up and down like that all the way around. When I've done it, I can lift that off and there it is, ready to go. Now you know I love a good cheat, so I'm going to definitely make more than one flower at some point. So what I'm going to do is, once I've drawn around on my first page, I'm going to look around and see, is there any other pages ready to go that are the same size that I can maybe put with that. So when I cut out that template, if I've got 2 sheets together, I'm actually going to cut out 2 flowers at the same time. I probably wouldn't do more than 2 because you're likely to make the page slip and then you end up with a flower that doesn't look quite right. So I'd probably definitely stick to 2. If you're brave, you want to try 3, that's up to you. But I'm going to stick with the 2 for now. So there I am, ready to go. If you wanted to, you can, and this is another little tip, with just a little tiny bit of masking tape or sellotape, tiny amount, look, what you can do is just stick your two pieces of paper together, and then they can't really move at all as you cut them. So one on each side like that, sticking them together. So now those two sheets, they can't come apart. So as you're cutting, it means you can't slip accidentally. So that's a little bit better, if anything. So I'm ready to go now. I've drawn around my template, and now all I'm going to do, carefully, and again as a tip, when you're cutting, always use the centre of your scissors. So try not to cut at the end, because all that does is makes lots of little tiny cuts, and that's how you get a really jagged line. So if you can get your scissors right down at the bottom, so put your scissors right in, and then it means you get a big long cut. Every time you rearrange your scissors, just push right down to the bottom, and then you get big long cuts every time. The longer your cut is, the less chance you've got of making a jagged line. I've got two for the price of one, and I've still got this bit here that's left over, so it might be somebody else in the room can have a smaller petal that they want to use, and they might be able to fit that smaller petal on there, so this hasn't gone to waste. So don't throw anything away, just try and keep them. Something like that, obviously we can get rid of them bits because we probably can't fit anything on there, but something like that, try and keep a little pile of scrap so that people can look through and see what can they reuse from those. So there's my first two that I'm going to use. Now that was part two of two parts. So what I need is another size now. So what I'll do really quickly is I'm just going to grab a different colour paper, and then when I layer them up you can see what the difference will be. And again I'm going to use two sheets because I like the idea of doubling up. So this time it's a little bit smaller of a template. You can see there, that one's smaller. So one's going to sit on top of the other like that. So it's got a bit of a layered effect, and that's what's going to make this really lovely. So I'm going to make sure, and again I'm going to use that cheat. I'm going to get a tiny bit of tape. Look how small. You don't need loads. I'm going to stick it on the front, one on each side like that. And then turn over and stick it across the two pieces on the back so they can't move. Perfect. And then I'm going to get my template, and again I'm not going to put it right in the middle because that's going to be a waste. I'm going to put it somewhere near the top or near the bottom so that there's still a lot of space that can be used. And again I'm just going to draw all the way around. Second half, and again if I just pull, I've actually got two instead of one, so I can layer those up now. I'm going to take that away just for now so that we can focus on this one. So we can lay them up like that so that they're absolutely the same and they match, or if you wanted to with the top layer you might want to spin it a little bit so it kind of sits in a slightly different position. It's entirely up to you how you want to do this. So you can place that wherever you want. The bit that's missing is the middle, isn't it? So if you go to your flower centres and you choose the right size, so I've cut loads out here. So some of them you don't need to do anything with. If it's yellow or orange, then that is already coloured and it's already ready to go. If you want to use a white one, you might want to add a little bit of coloured pencil to it at the end, or you might want to add a little bit of paint. It's up to you, but they're all ready to go there. So I'm going to go with the one that's going to be the best size. So I'm going to try that. What do we think? Is that one a bit too big? That's a bit too big. Let's try quite like that one actually. I'm going to go with that one. So got my selection there, all back in the bag. Got those nice and safe. Right, so what we need to do now, make roughly a dot for your centre so you know where it is. And what you're going to do is we're going to glue the top layer onto the bottom. So with this, I'm just going to put, in fact it doesn't matter, does it? If you put a little bit of glue on that side, because the other side's also got an image on, I'm going to glue by pressing that down onto the centre. There you go. So it already looks lovely. Now the only thing at the moment is it's still quite flat, isn't it? So we need to do something to make it look a little bit more 3D. So something really, really simple we can do is, with our scissors, where each petal comes in to the centre, if we just cut a little bit more, so we just extend where that cut is. Just a couple of them going in like that. Bring it in, bring it in. And that means now we've got a little bit more movement where those petals actually sit. So it could be that we can, with our fingers, we can bend these a little bit and roll them. You can see they start to sit up. So just a little bit, again, all the way around. So you pull them in a little bit. That little bit. So you're just pulling them away from being a flat 2D surface into something a bit more 3D. Now we've done that with the top layer. If you want to, you can do it with the bottom layer. So it might be easier to turn over. And then again, just cut down a little bit to where all of those petals come in. So just extend that cut all the way down. And you can do exactly the same with those petals. So bring those in a little bit. If you want, you can leave it like that. That would be absolutely fine. What you can do to add a little bit more detail, if you wanted to, is add a little bit of pencil colour. So she says, and can't get into the pencils because they're brand new. There we go. So I'm just going to show you a bit of a trick to make things look a little bit more 3D. And the messier the better with these. Now again, mine look quite plain, but yours are going to have an image, a black and white image, and colour already all over them, so they'll look so different. Anywhere that you can see now that the light can't hit behind, it's causing shadows. So even that is going to cause different tones to appear in there. Whereas mine looks a little bit plain, yours are going to look amazing already. But if you want to add a little bit more detail, then by all means, this is how we can do it. You can add your centre in now if you like, or leave it for a minute and put a little bit more detail on it first. I'm going to use a white one actually, because I can show you a bit better. So all you'd need to do is pick 3 colours, similar tone, but a dark and a light version of something. So I'm going to say, right, I'm going to go with reds. So darkest red I can find in the pack is like a reddy purple, and the lightest I can find is like a kind of pinky peachy colour, and then somewhere in the middle is pure red. So can you see what I've done there? I've picked a tone and I've gone, right, I want a dark version of it, I want a light version of it, I want one somewhere in the middle. And again, you can't go wrong, you're just creating a bit of a mix of light and dark. And then once I've got those, I'm going to look at my petals. I'm going to say, right, each one of these petals as I go around, I'm going to make one side dark and one side light as fast as I can. And this is how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to flatten it again a little bit. So petal 1, I'm just going to say, right, with something we call cross hatching. So I'm going to do one direction, I'm going to do a scribble, and then I'm going to turn and go the opposite direction, another squiggle. That's my dark side, and every single petal on this side will be the dark side. So I'm going to move across to here, and again, squiggle on that side, and then in the opposite direction, and then that side. Squiggle there, Now, look at that, fast. We're not bothered about being neat, it's about bringing some depth in. Now I'm going to go the opposite. So on the right hand side, I'm going to go light. So I'm going to pick, of the three, the lightest tone, the opposite side of each petal. I'm going to do a squiggle, and a squiggle. Woo! As fast as I can. It's just a bit of an illusion that there's even more shadows appearing than there actually is. So there's a dark and a light side to each of those. Now I'm going to do that again on the back, but only where I can see it really. So again, darkest colour that I've got, I'm going to stick to the same kind of side. So if it's on the right hand side on the ones in front and the ones behind, I'm going to do this, same on here. You can do straight lines as well. So this is called hatching, and then cross hatching when you go over the other side. Like this, hatching, and then cross hatch, and then hatch, cross hatch. My back, oh nearly. One more. And again, what I'm doing is I'm trying to trick people when they look at it into thinking there's more shadow and more light hitting that surface than there actually is. Now, with this one, instead of using the light on the back, I'm just going to go for the mid-tone, and I'm just going to add a little bit onto each edge, but this time with a curved line. So just a little bit of a curve. Can you see? I'm not being precious and I'm not trying to be neat. I'm just adding that curve on. And I'm just going to do that on the front, and I'm going to overlap. And it doesn't matter which one, either the left or the right a little bit. So I'm going to go with that light side. So I'm just going to do some curves. Overlap where I've put that light colour. And again, I'm just trying to create an illusion that there's a curve going on at the top of that petal, even though it's flat. I'm trying to make it like it's coming out a little bit. So I've just added a little bit more to it. And this is the centre I'm going to use, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on there. So with the darkest colour on the right hand side, I'm going to do curves. Oops. So curve like that. Curve, 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 and overlap a little bit. And on the opposite side, with a light colour, I'm going to curve there, and again, a little bit of cross hatching. And then in the centre, with the mid-tone, just bring them together and overlap everything a little bit like that. So that's now ready with my glue. Stick on like that. There, ready to go. So one last little curl, and then that is one completed flower. And all we've done is one large piece at the back. The layer on front is a little bit smaller, and then finally we've got that centre piece, but all of it has just got that little bit extra with the pencil. It just took another 2 minutes at the end just to make it look as if there's a dark and light side to each of those petals, just to bring it to life that little bit. And that is going to be beautiful. Imagine maybe 20 or 30 of those